Okay, and we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Have some big Manchester United news you want to go through tonight. First and foremost, I guess, it's a story I want to talk about, and it's one that's doing the rounds a bit. So I want to try dispel any concern that you guys might have. So American businessman Leon Cooperman has bought in to Manchester United around about £16 million worth of shares bought, but it's only really Class A. It's only really a short-term investment. It's not anything we really need to concern ourselves with too much. Now, I see a lot of people worrying about this. It's just sort of the Class A shares. Anybody can buy them on the stock market. You can buy them right now if you so desire. He's basically just looking for a quick profit. But look, let's move quickly on. I'll touch on that throughout the show as well, in case anybody does have any other questions about that. Obviously, Class A, Class Share, and Class B, different voting rights. We all know this by now because this takeover saga has been going on for over 1 year at this point. But let's get talking about the man who actually will be buying into Manchester United, who actually will be running our football club, and that is Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because he has some big plans that he is putting together. First and foremost, it looks like he's assembling his team. He's going after the targets. We have, of course, Jean Claude Blanc, very, very likely to become the new CEO at Manchester United. I'm excited about that appointment. I'm really looking forward to that one. Obviously, real good pedigree, has worked at a lot of big clubs, really good reputation coming into Manchester United. Up second, of course, Paul Mitchell. And the news is today, Paul Mitchell wants the job and Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants Paul Mitchell. It looks like a match made in heaven, so to speak, and this will be taking place, and I'm very, very happy with those appointments. Of course, Dougie Freedman, another man we want to talk about, has really overseen a lot of change at Crystal Palace, taught them from a club in financial difficulties, brought some really good young players in, and has helped to steer and steady that ship. So he could be coming in as some sort of a sporting director, and it's likely to be a shared role. Mitchell looking at sporting director, Freedman director of football. It's kind of all coming together very nicely for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and this is going to be a big, big week for him as well. Big ups to Sheed and Leman in the comments. It's great to see you guys, as always. And on the poll tonight, we have been asking you guys, what is the first thing Sir Jim should be doing at Manchester United? If you were in Sir Jim's shoes, if you were buying 25% of this club, going to have sporting control, what would you be doing first? Would you guys be looking at a new structure? So that's the new appointments, the CEOs, directors of football, sporting directors, new recruitment, all that stuff that's going to help us be a much better team off the pitch in terms of what we do, in terms of our signings, who we sell, who we look to bring in, what academy players we bring through, what young players we bring in. Would you guys like to see stadium work? Now, obviously, as we know, Old Trafford well and truly falling down at this moment in time. Would you guys like to see some new players, or would you go for the big one and immediately change the manager at Manchester United? That's my question. I know a lot of people have their doubts over Erik Ten Hag as things stand, but let me know your thoughts down below. And the big news I guess I can bring you guys is the first thing they really want to do. Hello to Rashid as well. Rajat and Rashid, I'm getting names mixed up as well. The first thing that Sir Jim is going to do, and this is pretty much confirmed, he's bringing in this new structure and he's going to empower them to make the call. So it will not be Jim Ratcliffe signing the players. It will not be Dave Brailsford sacking the manager. It will be the likes of Blanc, of Mitchell, of Freedman, whoever he chooses to bring in. Those are the guys who will be making those calls. It won't be INEOS, and that is something they have learnt. I think if we look at what they've done at Nice, that was their real big mistake, is they tried to be really hands-on with their ownership. Over the last 18 months, they've rolled back a bit. They've pulled out to an extent, and that's definitely helped out at Nice. That's been a real turning point for them, is giving the right people the right powers, the right control to make those calls. And I think that has to be the first thing that Sir Jim does. Now, I guess the question is going to come down to what sort of power will they really have? That's a big concern, because you can bring in a Paul Mitchell, you can bring in a Ralph Rangnick, you can bring in whoever you want, but if they're not given the power within the club to make those big changes, if they're not given the power really to operate on their own free will and run the club as they think it should be, it's going to be their job, it's going to be their responsibility, then I guess you're kind of limiting how effective they can be. Rajat is saying new structure number one. Liman says roof and wash rims. Honestly, man, fix that roof at Old Trafford. We don't want to see rain coming through onto our fans. I don't know. Maybe the first thing Ratcliffe should do is bring out umbrellas for the fans underneath the holds, because we're going into winter. We're going to get a lot of this, but certainly big times are coming and big changes are coming with Ratcliffe. Now, will it be an immediate fix? Will it be an immediate fix? I don't know. That's going to be the question. How long is this going to take? I don't know if it's going to be immediate. I do want to move on to another story as well, and of course that is Sir Jim Ratcliffe set to give Erik Ten Hag money to spend in January, and I think that's good because, as we know, over the summer, very frustrating times, we had to sell players in order to buy, and we really struggled to move players on. And part of that is when you pay guys like Sancho, you pay guys like Harry Maguire, Martial, Donny van de Beek, hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. You know, you're kind of limiting who's going to buy those players, who can afford to buy those players, and that has to be a real concern as well. So money coming in from Ratcliffe would mean we can go out and spend some money, and from the looks of things, the areas we're looking at is going to be fullback, it's going to be centre back, it's going to be striking positions, and I think that's good. But I would like a look at that midfield area. It might have to wait until summer at this moment in time. And look, I get it. I completely understand that we are going to be a little bit stuck for money. We're not going to be spending hundreds of millions in January, but we might bring 2 or 3 players in who might come in and make a difference across the rest of the season. But obviously, that all has to be done properly. It all has to be who these sporting guys want to bring in. It's going to be who they want to talk to. It's going to be what their plan is, because there's no point buying the likes of Weghorst, bringing in a Sabitzer, bringing in players like that on loan who are just not going to fit the long-term project either. So have to make some signings, but we have to make the right ones at that. And I think we can all agree to those as well. Rajad, Liman is saying, Rajad is stealing the comments. Liman loves it, honestly, man. But yeah, look, a big story I want to go through as well. Manchester United bosses are refusing to meet with any agents who are trying to pitch managers to replace Erik Ten Hag, and I think that's positive, because it's definitely not going to be anybody at the club making that decision right now. So we will not see Richard Arnold or John Murda sacking a manager. It will be a Blanc, it will be a Mitchell, whoever comes in down the line. They might want to change Erik Ten Hag immediately, they might want to change him at the end of the season, or maybe they think this is the right guy, just in the wrong environment, we're going to stick with what we've got. They got big calls to make, they have big decisions to make, but I'm glad that it's going to be footballing people making those calls. It's not going to be Joel Glazer, it's not going to be the Ed Woodwards, the Richard Arnolds, guys like that who have resided over 10 years of failure at this football club making those calls once again. So I think that's nothing but a good thing. I've just hit my mic there. I'm getting too animated, really. But yeah, look, that's definitely a positive. According to Rob Dawson as well, the representative of a well-known manager who is without a club had scheduled a meeting, and it was cancelled by the club amongst concerns that they would only focus on the manager. So it looks like we're talking to players, we're talking to player agents, we're looking at that kind of side of it, but we're not going to be sacking Erik Ten Hag with the people in charge at the moment. And that's nothing but a good thing, I'm telling you guys, because we've seen this already. We've seen the cycle. Look, if Mitchell, if Freedman, if Blanc, if the sporting board coming in think a change in manager is the right way to go, then yeah, they're going to have my full backing to do that as well. Absolutely. I think we gotta just accept what we're going to get. Look, it's not ideal. We all wanted full takeovers. We all wanted the Glazer family fully gone and a brand new beginning. We're not getting that. But I guess this is probably the next best thing that we could hope for. It's a lot better than the alternative of the Glazer family staying on and us just being stuck in this loop over and over and over and over again. So Fresh is down there. Hey everyone. Hopefully Jim shows us he's serious by making some serious changes quickly. Yeah, that's what I think he's got to do. I think he needs to come in, have a look at what's going on. I don't think it's going to take Jim Ratcliffe long to figure out, or if he's already figured it out, that the guys calling the shots at the moment are really far out of their depth. I'm excited to see what kind of changes we're going to make, but I think it's going to be an interesting time for sure. Hot Fuzz is down below. Good to see you, man. Liman says, surprisingly, the international break feels welcoming and we aren't missing the PLG unlike the last one. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, I would agree with that as well. I think a lot of people were actually looking forward to this international break, myself included, if we're being honest with ourselves as well. Rajad is excited to get Paul Mitchell, and there's the director from Palace. Yes, that is Freedman. Those are all potential appointments, and I would say we're going to act pretty quickly. I think the big changes will come very, very quickly at Manchester United, and I think it really cannot be. I don't think we can wait, and I don't think we can waste time on this, if that makes sense. I think these have to be immediate changes because we've been doing this for 10 years at this point. I think us as a fan base are getting very fed up with the constant resets, the constant rebuilds. We just want to see some continuity. We should not be in a position where every 2 to 3 years we have to completely tear up the squad and try to build it all over again. We got to have some serious players come in, ideally younger players. I don't think we should be looking at players towards the end of their careers. And from there, I think a lot is going to be possible. Big T is excited on the journey, possible light at the end of the tunnel. I would agree with that. I think, yeah, look, the tunnel might be a longer one than what we wanted. We might have hoped for the immediate change, the immediate complete 180-degree turn of Manchester United's fortunes on and off the pitch, a complete swap in what we're doing as a football club. But seemingly a ship this size is going to take a while to turn. Seemingly a ship of this magnitude will take a while to get going in the right direction. But I'm confident once we're in the right direction, once we are facing the right way and going on the right path, the right journey, that we might end up being a lot better off for it. And look, it's like I said, I am very open-minded about this. I wanted full seal. I always wanted full seal, but I think this is going to be the way we get that. And I think we do get there eventually. It might take longer than we wanted, but once we're there, we're there. And seemingly so, because this deal is set to be announced pretty much any day now, sometime by the end of the week, expected probably by next week at the very latest to be announced. So I think we have seen our last Manchester United match with full Glazer ownership and full Glazer control. I think everything after this point, we're going to see a change in Manchester United. It might be small changes, it might be baby steps to start with, but once we get that ball rolling, I think it's going to be hard to stop. I really do. And I think the changes will come. I think the progress will be made. I think we'll be better on the pitch, better off the pitch for it. And certainly we will be in a much, much healthier position. Honestly, we really will. I genuinely do believe that. And I think most fans would do as well. I know a lot of you guys wanted Qatar. I know a lot of people did. Over the summer, yeah, look, those times where I was definitely like, it would be nice just to have that kind of money coming in. It would be nice to have the Glazer family fully gone from the club and to be fully moving towards the kind of fresh start, new beginning, complete new page, complete new chapter of this club. And look, at the minute, we're not quite there, but in 12 months' time, we'll be a lot closer than what we are now. In 24 months' time, 2 years' time, we will be a lot closer to where we need to be. And honestly, within 2 to 3 years, I do firmly believe we will be a fully Glazer-free club. And I think that is definitely a very, very promising future to look forward to. For the first time in a long time, for the first time in a really long time. Liman says, I think if Ratcliffe controls footballing side, I believe news and improve it, and then it will be liked and the Glazers will become a hero to fans, or they will get more hate. So Fresh is saying it's hard watching United with Glazers around. Looking at local clubs like Wrexham, their owners have changed the town completely and given fans in 2 years what would take 10 years for others. Absolutely. The right kind of ownership can really change and alter the entire course of a football club. Make no mistake about it. And look, I'm positive you guys have been in this situation as well. Whenever you go into a workplace and the workplace is pretty toxic, where things are not doing well, where the guys calling the shots really are bad at their jobs, where the ones owning it are only interested in the bottom line and not the actual performance of the business, they're only interested in the money, it doesn't make a very good work environment. You don't want to be there for a long time. And I think that definitely is going to feed into the kind of training, into the training rooms, into the manager, into the scouts. Everybody knows. And I think that does eventually filter its way through the entire club. I'm positive that everybody has had at least one bad manager, or at least one bad store manager, whatever you guys do work in, who's just not been good for you, not been good for the company. And I do think it will it will take time. I do think it will take time, but I think it is baby steps in the right direction. And I think bringing the right guys in, like the Blancs, like the Mitchells, like the Freedmans, bringing in a new recruitment staff, looking at the scouting departments, looking at the recruitment as a whole, I think that makes it a lot better. And I would say at a generous push in terms of the people we have signed, the players we've signed on the pitch, I reckon in the last 10 years we could probably put 10% or less down as a success. If we can improve that, if we can make a 50% success rate, if we were buying 5 players, 6 players a year, and 3 of them turn out to be real proper players, all of a sudden within 2 to 3 years we have an entire 11 of people who are really, really good on the pitch, and that's going to help breed the competition. It's going to help the manager. It's going to help whoever is trying to run this football club. And that's what we got to do. We got to have more hits than misses. We are genuinely firing absolute blanks at the minute, but I'm hoping that's going to change in a long time. Big T says Newcastle proves we don't need money or gold. Yeah, look, I'll say this about Newcastle, man. Whilst their achievements in the last 12 months, 18 months have been really impressive, I don't think they play particularly good football. Like, I really don't. Jordy is down there. I'm just talking about Newcastle and saying they don't play good football. It's good to see all you guys as well. What have we got as well? Rajat said, look at Newcastle owners, know they're all money, but look how much they care and what to spend. Yeah, look, I mean, that can completely change the complete environment at a club. I mean, look at Newcastle before the Saudis came in. Really, that first season, they were in big trouble of going down, and the ownership came in. It brought in a buzz around the place, a buzz around the stadium, a buzz around the club, and that made such a difference. You're seeing guys like Jamal Lascelles playing in the Champions League, playing out of their skin at times. You're looking at Jacob Murphy genuinely performing really well. You're looking at Miguel Almiron being a star player in a Premier League, Champions League team. I mean, like, the difference that can make. And I know that these players at the club aren't bad. I know we do like to bash them from time to time, but some of them are genuine top footballers. I just think whenever you look at them outside of the United environment, outside of the toxicity that has to be there, they're completely different. They're completely different players. They really and truly are. Let me see, those comments are going in. So Fresh said Wrexham are getting a new stand next year to increase capacity. United are getting are always sold out for tickets. I don't understand why stadium capacity isn't increasing. Yeah, I think that's another of Jim's big plans, really, is to try build up Old Trafford. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how we do that. For anyone who does know Old Trafford and the surrounding area, there are the train lines right behind the south stand, and that kind of has made capacity issues. That's the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. It's far smaller than the other ones. If we made it a comparable size, you're probably looking at a 90,000 seater stadium, and we probably would sell that out as well. I do believe that. Big changes to be made for sure. It's an exciting time. Don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people out there are going to think that this will be an immediate fix. I don't think it will be. I don't think until we really have the Glazers fully gone that this club is going to be operating at full capacity. But from those sources inside the club, from what we've seen in the media, online, and they had said all along, even if someone comes in and gets 1% of control, that could make a massive amount of difference, because the club right now is so disorganized. There's no leaders, there's no control, there's no ideas at our football club. I think it's going to make a massive difference. It really and truly will as well. Let me see what I got down below, guys. Hot Fuzz is in the comments. Big ups to Man, of course. And as well, look, guys, I will say this. If you guys haven't already, check out Hot Fuzz. There's a lot of United videos and streams as well. Good guy, and some really good takes as well. So definitely make sure you're checking his channel out as well. 58% of you guys saying new structure at Manchester United. 8% going to go for the stadium work. 25% for the new managers, and 8% going for the new manager as well. Yeah, look, big changes are needed. We know this for sure. So Fresh is saying, what capacity do you think we could have a regular match? Could they do 120,000? I think that's a push, man. I think 90,000 is where we could sit up fairly comfortably. I think you will get more and more capacity, and you will get more demand for seats if the team's better. Because look, at the minute, people are going to look at it and go, look at the price of tickets, look how that team is playing. I mean, people might not want to go and see as well, especially look if they're travelling fans as well. I know for myself, look, I'm based in Ireland, of course, I'm going over for some matches this year. It is pretty expensive. You do want to go over and see a good match as well. Don't know if I'm looking forward to it now because we're playing Chelsea whenever I'm going to be there. Who else have we got down below as well? Big T says, dig down, make the pitch lower, increasing the height to give more seats, make us the first underground pitch. I mean, it is interesting, man, because obviously, look, as we know, the Old Trafford pitch really, really high up. Christian is down there. Ahmad, Minu, Palistri, Hannibal, and Amrabat can save our season. Their careers, like the manager, said our luck can turn quick. He needs to believe in them the United way. All we need is another striker. Yeah, look, I think we're lacking goals. I do think some of those players need in the team, especially Kobbie Mainoo. Look, if we want to go more tactics-based, we really lack ball carriers, people who get on the ball and drive through the middle of the pitch. We do not have anything like that at the minute. And I think Kobbie Mainoo will be a big player for us. I like Hannibal. I like Ahmad. I think Ahmad's got a really good opportunity when he comes in. Look, I like Palistri, but I don't think he's really took his chances fully. I think Sancho's gone. I don't think we'll ever see Sancho back at Manchester United, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of Anthony as well, the way he's playing as well. Big T said that I see the reports of 90 million to spend in January, also reports of selling Casemiro. Yes, there is talk about that. Casemiro getting a lot of interest from Saudi Arabia, and they could go in with a bid. I think I would take it. I don't think 6 months ago I would have took it, but I think now I would. I think if we're going to have money to spend in January, if we're going to sell Casemiro, that's a good step to clearing the wage bill. It's a good step towards getting players who are going to be here for a lot longer. I think we need to start, look, at the minute, we are not a team that's going to attract players in their very prime. Players prime, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's kind of the prime years, 3 or 4 years. I think we are probably 3 or 4 years from winning serious silverware on a regular basis, competing for Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, being right up there every single year. I think it's going to take a while to get there. So we have two options. Do we go for players who are just past their best, who are only going to go down, or do we go for younger players, guys who are like 20, 21, who in 2 to 3 years' time will be at some of their best years? The likes of Højlund, that's the kind of signing we need to be doing. That is absolutely the type of signing we need. Let me see. So Fresh says Juventus and Saudi teams interested in Sancho. Yes, that is also true as well. And Big T says swap Sancho for Tabedo. I don't think Nice would take Sancho, but maybe, look, there's interest definitely from Juventus. Maybe we could put some of their players in a swap deal. I don't know. Rajat does not trust the board to replace the players. See, I think that's key. I think that's absolutely key, man, as well. I think that's why Ratcliffe wants to bring in these experts, wants to bring in the guys who are going to know what they're doing, because I cannot say with any confidence that the guys running the show would be any better if they had more money to spend. We've spent £1.4 billion in 10 years, and we look a worse team than we were then. That's such a cause for concern when we look at it like that. So could we say, let's give Arnold £500 million and let's see what him and John Murdoch can do? No, I think we need to give the right people that kind of money. We got guys like Paul Mitchell, guys like Freedman, who've done really good jobs on small budgets, who know what they're doing. If you give them that kind of money, they're going to bring a lot of players in. They're going to bring a lot of these very, very highly rated players who will come in and within a season or two be playing at a high level. Look at the players that Dougie Freedman has brought in to that Crystal Palace team. The likes of Mark Gahey, the likes of Eze, the likes of Michael Elise, Tyreek Mitchell, players like that. Really good players bringing in there. Look, obviously, of course, Paul Mitchell's record speaks for itself. Look at that Southampton team they bought and assembled on very little money. Sold a lot of players for profit. Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Dusan Tadic, of course, as well in there. Like of Klein, the likes as well of Pella. Really good players who they brought in. They did the same thing at Spurs as well. Brought some brilliant young players in, and they really were the cornerstone of that team for a long time. You give those guys serious budgets, they're going to do some serious work in a short period of time. Let me see. Rashad goes. Sancho wouldn't want to go there to Nice. So Fresh said alongside Pogba doesn't come back for Sancho. Yeah, look, I don't know what's happening with Paul Pogba with this potential ban either, like this long-term doping ban. Let me see. Le Man says they should do a narco test on Sancho. I don't know what they're going to do, man. I mean, I think Sancho's going to be going, man. I really, really believe that he will be going, and I can't complain too much about it. I really, really cannot at this point. Let me see, guys. I've got 24 votes, 25 votes on the poll now as well. 56% gonna go for the new structure. I like it. I like the thinking. You guys seem to be on the same wavelength as me. I hope I'm not influencing your thoughts too much as well. But certainly, I think that's the right kind of plans to be making. Look, give the guys who know what they're doing the kind of money we've give to Richard Arnold and Murdas and Woodwards, and I think they do a lot better for us. They really do. An interesting one as well. I want to get talking about Sancho really quickly because Fabrizio Romano is putting the update in as well. So Juventus have asked for information on Sancho in the last couple of days. He is set to leave Manchester United, but Juventus would only be interested in a loan deal. However, an option to buy at the end of the season could be discussed. So I think that's interesting. I wouldn't mind Sancho going. I think, look, if we move Varane on, we move Casemiro on, we move Jadon Sancho on, that's a good start. Now, there was talk. I will throw this one to you guys because, look, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Bruno Fernandes, and I always have been at Manchester United, but there's talks that the Saudis might be interested and could bid 100 million for him. I think if that kind of bid comes in, I think we've got to take it as well. I seriously do. And as much as I love Bruno, I think that's just too much to walk away from. The interesting thing is, so Juventus only want to pay 70% of Jadon Sancho's wages. I can't see that happening at this current moment in time. I think we'd want to see some kind of option to buy or something in there, because I don't think Sancho's going to last at this club anymore. I really don't. Look, let's see, those comments are coming in as well. Tasport said spend that so-called 90 million on a striker. I think, yeah, we're going to be looking at strikers. Got a couple of names to throw at you guys. First and foremost is Mehdi Taremi, and I believe he's available for around 8.5 million. He's a more experienced player, around 30 years old. Is that part of the long-term squad planning? It couldn't really be. It looks like a short-term fix. Another player who we have been linked to today, I think he's playing for Lecce in the Italian league, and that is Nikola Krskovic, I think. I think he's got 4 or 5 goals in Serie A this season. He looks okay, but he looks like a backup player at best, if we're being honest with ourselves. But I don't know. I'm not too convinced about those signings. I'm much more convinced about a Tebito. I'm much more convinced about signing somebody like that. That does seem to be well and truly in the works. Who else have we got down below? Christian said if Palacios had Anthony's game time, he would have been a starter at the club by now. Great potential. Ollie bought some great young players, but had no idea what to do with them. Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism. I think Ollie signed some very good players, but maybe didn't know how to get the best out of them. I think genuinely, I think Palacios is a good player. I think Amad Diallo is probably the better player at the minute with a higher ceiling. I think Amad needs to get into that first team after this international break. There's nothing on that right wing that we really can say is a top level player. I can't say it about Sancho. I can't say it about Anthony. Palacios had opportunities. He's looked good at times. But I want to see Amad given a go. I really do. I like how he plays. Starts on the right. He can play inside. He comes inside quite a bit. He could have a nice link up. I think an interesting one that we're looking at is a fullback as well. Obviously, Sacha Boey from Galatasaray was talked about at one point as well. So it does look like we're being proactive. Let me see who we've got as well down below. I want to check this comments out. The man says the sandwich with Sancho enjoys in his car is prepared by Rajat, supplied by Ratcliffe. So Fresh said, if I got offered big money for a player, I always worry about Glazers taking money for profit instead of investing in replacements. Yeah, I think that's kind of where we might see some of the changes. That's where we might see some alterations in what we're doing, because if we sell a player, that's going to fall under the sporting control of Ratcliffe, and it's going to fall under the likes of Blanc and Mitchell and Freedman, whoever we bring in. It's going to fall into their kinds of authority and responsibility. So maybe we're going to see that genuinely being put back into the team, and then maybe we'll be less likely and less scared to sell on players. Big T says Victor. I think we're talking about Victor Lindelof. Gani says, do you think Hi, Stefan. Do you think we need to play good football at least to attract better players? It's all about the manager. We don't need to buy world class players in every position. Yeah, I don't think we do either. I think if we have a look at what we need, I think if we sign some players who are definitely on the up in their career at the younger age, we're talking 22, 23 kind of territory, I think, then you have players who are going to be good for 6, 7 years. And if Erik Ten Hag gets sacked, then they're there the next manager. And I think that's really important. I want to just quickly have a look. I'm positive you guys know exactly what we're talking about whenever we're looking at sporting control, because it means that the manager will not be setting control at the club and not be setting the style of play. It does mean that that's going to come from the higher ups. It's going to come from the guys who are going to be there for a longer period of time. And I think that's a good way to run your club, because if Erik Ten Hag goes wrong, we need to appoint someone who's going to come in and get the best out of the players he's signed, whilst bringing in their own additions as well. And that's a much more sustainable way of running a football club. We've seen this time and time again with this club. We've went from Louis van Gaal, a man who wanted possession above all else, above goals as well. If Louis van Gaal got 75% possession and no goals and no shots on target, he was a happy man at the end of that match. And then we went to Jose Mourinho, a guy who wanted to sit back and hit in the counter-attack with players who, of course, came in to play possession-based football. And then Oli came in as well, and it was more transitional, it was more quick breaks, it was more looking and attacking space. And now Ten Hag's come in with his own ideas and hasn't been able to implement it. We've got a real Frankenstein's monster of a team, of a squad assembled by many managers, assembled by different people. So I think continuity is important. You look at what Man City are doing, you look at what Liverpool are doing. When Klopp and Pep eventually leave, they will not be making a full 180-degree turn on the style of play. We will not be seeing that whatsoever there. There will be something similar. So don't expect to see Sam Allardyce rock up in the home end at Anfield. Don't expect to see David Moyes turning up and managing Man City. They're going to bring people in with a similar idea. Let's see, Rajat says would take 100 million to let Bruno leave, not this year, can't let him go in January. No, I would agree with that. I think if 100 million came in for Bruno in the summer, he would be coming into, I think he's 29 now, so he would be 30 next year. If you got 100 million pounds for a 30-year-old player, I think you got to take it as well. Let me see, Stefan, if you were Osman, would you have gone to Chelsea, Arsenal, United? And 100 million, I would give Bruno and McTominay. If I was Victor Osman, yeah, I think Osman probably leaves now. I think Napoli look a little bit of a mess this year. Obviously, they sacked, is it Rudy Garcia? I think their manager, really odd appointment. He has been sacked already, so I'm not surprised about that. I think, yeah, look, it's going to be a very difficult job to get anyone out of Napoli. And I think Victor Osimhen would be a player who would come in and score goals. But my point of view, my opinion, is that we should be looking at the likes of Osimhen, players of that kind of caliber, who we know are going to be really good players in the future, and sign them before they go to Napoli. Because Napoli got him from, I think it was, they got him from the French league, and they bought him for around 30, 35. I think that's a much better price tag that we should be looking at. I think they got him from Lille. That's where we have to be signing players before they go to Napoli, before they go to Ajax, before they go to Dortmund, before they go to Benfica. That's where we need to be looking at players. Players on the up and up. Players who are going to be making those big moves. We need to be that team. And that's what I think we should be moving towards as a club. Because then all of a sudden you're buying the likes of Erling Haaland from Salzburg before he went to Dortmund and then City. You're buying the likes of Bellingham from Birmingham before he went to Dortmund. You're buying the likes of Sesko before he went from Salzburg to Leipzig. You're basically running your club much better. You're buying more affordable players. You're putting less of a risk on them to work out for. Let me see. Big T says to be buying players for the club, not for the manager. Yeah, look, I think I would even go so far as I would like to see a change at Manchester United, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. I would like to see a swap and a change from having a club manager to having a head coach. I think that is the better model to operate from, and that's where I think the sustainable model is going to come in, and that's how we operate better as a team, both on the pitch, off the pitch, and that's going to give us a much, much, much better way to operate. And look, it's only a small change. Manager, head coach, it sounds very similar, but it's very different because all of a sudden your manager has one priority, and that is getting the best out of the team. It's not all of a sudden having to fight with the owners of the club to try to get a transfer budget. It's not having to deal with the recruitment side of things. It's not having to go and say to the likes of John Murda, oh, all of a sudden, all these players you bought for me, they're all over 30 years old. They're really old. We need replacements. That's what we got to do. Rajat's right. Get Enzo when they're in Argentina. Get Julian Alvarez when he left River Plate. Those are the signings we should be making. We shouldn't be waiting for them to go somewhere else before we go out and buy them. Chatsport said Enzo has done nothing yet. I think he's been pretty good for Chelsea. I don't think he's been exceptional. But I think that model is a lot better way to run our football club, and I think that's how I would like to see it. I don't want to see us going to Brighton looking for players and getting charged £100 million for a player we could have bought for £5 million a couple of seasons ago. I don't want to see us go to Porto or to Benfica. All these feeder clubs, these clubs make so much money based on the laziness of other teams not doing their scouting work and not bringing these players in at the right age. That's how they run their football clubs, and they've been very successful at it. Look, there's nothing wrong with it if you're buying one player, but if you're trying to buy a whole team and all of a sudden you're playing twice what these players are actually worth, then whenever they underperform, you're just adding pressure onto yourself. That's what I think we got to do. I don't think we should be spending less money, but I think we should be bringing more players in for that kind of money instead of just buying a player £100 million, £80 million, £60 million. We've thrown money about like no one's business for many, many years at United. And we know this for a fact. And I think just the right guys in there making the right calls at the right time to bring the right people in to get the best out of the team, the best out of the structure, that's what's going to be working best. So Fresh says, Eze and Elisa at Palace look promising when I watched them play. Yeah, look, those are two players we could have got as well. I think Eze came from Reading, and I think Elisa came from QPR, if I'm right in saying that. So, I mean, that's the kind of signings we could be making. Rajat said, will we be getting Ignacio or Tapsoba? I think we're more likely to get Ignacio out of those two, because I think we're going to need three centre-backs. I think we need three centre-backs. I can't see any of the current centre-halves at the club staying beyond next season. I cannot see it. So I think Varane will go, I think Maguire will go, and I think Lindelof will go. I would definitely keep Lisandro Martinez, but we need another centre-back to play on the left. We need another two centre-backs for the right. So I think we've got to be interesting with it. I think maybe Ignacio is a good signing. I think we get Tobedo on the cheap from this. I think that can be worked out for sure. And especially, there's definitely ways we can get around the ownership thing, because Ratcliffe wouldn't be a majority controller at United, so he would be able to work around that. And then we get somebody else in on top of that, because at the minute, there's not a lot of top-level players in that centre-back position coming through the youth academy, not too many. So I think we've got to be looking at that. Jasport said, Eze is a number 10, enough of them at United. Yeah, there probably is at the minute. I wouldn't mind seeing Elise. I think Elise would be a really good signing on that right-hand side. But obviously, I think Elise's problem is maybe down to motivation and stuff. Maybe playing at a bigger club could help raise his game as well. But certainly, a lot of good young players out there. Chasport said big loan big for Neves in Jan. Look, if we're getting a Neves, I want Yao Neves from Benfica, but that's going to be a big one. I think we go back in for Timber at any point. Timber is gone to Arsenal, of course, but his brother is actually quite a decent player, Quinton Timber, so maybe we look at that. Have I watched Turin Moffi at Nice? If Sir Jim gets him to United, will be a good addition and a cheaper option. I haven't seen Moffi at Nice. I seen Moffi playing last season. Who was he playing for? Turin Moffi scored a lot of goals last year as well. Let me just quickly double check, because was it Rams? Was it? I think maybe he's playing with Rams. I wouldn't mind having a look at Gift Orban as well. If anyone has watched Gift Orban play, I think he would be a good player to be bringing in. Sorry, Lorient he was at last year as well. Look, Moffi wouldn't be a bad option. Gift Orban up there as well. I think a lot of changes are coming in. Definitely. Let me see. So Fresh is saying Cucurella looks a good player considering how many options he gives. Left back, left midfielder, left left wing. Yeah, he's done that as well, and he's played left centre back. I think he would have been a better signing than Sergio Reguilon, but I think Chelsea playing him in that League Cup game and kind of just taking the piss out of the negotiations just weren't there. Big T says we've rated Arsenal players before. We have, but I think the issue is Arsenal are probably a slightly more tempting proposition at this moment in time, and that's embarrassing to say. It really is, unfortunately. But look, I definitely think bargains are out there. I think good players are out there. Look at some of the players Spurs brought in over the summer. Like, we probably had never heard of Van der Ven. We probably hadn't heard of Udogie. A lot of these players we probably had never heard of until they put in a really good shift against us at White Hart Lane. So I think yeah, smarten up. I think gotta be looking out for the big signings, the right signings, bringing plenty of them in. Really, I want to see a younger team as well. Look, if we're going to be playing this high possession, high pressing football, I think you got to have young players. You got to have the depth for it as well. Guys, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. And if you guys are new, please consider hitting that sub button as well. Double A is down there. Yo, man. Good to see you, man. Hope all's good. I'm good. Thanks very much for hopping on in here, man. Much appreciated. Niraj is down there as well. Good to see some faces coming back in as well. Good to see both of you guys. Thanks very much for hopping on in. Rajat says he went to Saudi. Chatsport said, yeah, go test West Ham's resolve for Yard Bowen. Double A, he recharged the batteries. Oh dear, that's a good one. That is a good one, to be fair. Yeah, look, I know that West Ham have some good players. I mean, Kudus looks really, really good for them at the minute as well. Certainly a lot of good players in and around the London area, definitely at the minute. Look, I have an interesting story I want to bring you guys on Andre Onana. So United are resigned to losing Onana in January. Onana is concerned he could lose his place as number one to Altay Bayındır. Although Bayındır is yet to play at United, the club's goalkeeping coaches have been very impressed by his standards in training since he has joined, as has Onana. Onana has also told his friends and colleagues that Bayındır is the best backup keeper he has ever worked with, and knows he will face a battle to reclaim his place as number one if he does decide to go to African Cup of Nations. So I think it's good to have depth and competition, and that's what we want to see. Do you know what, guys? Just because I haven't touched on it in a while as well, I want to just quickly dispel any concerns that anyone might have over Leon Cooperman. So obviously, head of a big hedge fund, they've bought £16 million worth of Manchester United shares today. It's really not that much when we consider it. I think it's 1.8% total. That's not too much of an issue. That's just someone putting their money in, expecting this INEOS deal to go through, and then what they're going to do is either sell when the share price goes up or hold for a longer period of time and have Ratcliffe buy them out further down the line for even more money. So that's nothing for us to be concerned about. Don't worry, Leon Cooperman will not be running Manchester United. An interesting story as well. Paul Mitchell is right at the top of the list to become new sporting director at Manchester United. Interestingly, he wants the job and Sir Jim wants him, so that does sound like a deal that's going to happen pretty soon as well. Definitely going to be happening soon. I'm really, really happy with that. I think Dougie Freedman, I think Paul Mitchell, Blanc, we're talking serious people in the footballing world making decisions like United. What is going on here? Since when do we make smart appointments? I don't know, guys. I really don't. Let me see. Who have we got down below? Big T says Anthony Gordon is a scrapper. Do you see him in a United shirt? No, not. I think Anthony Gordon was an interesting player. I think probably not really worth the money Newcastle have paid for him so far, but certainly some good options out there. There is, I think, an interesting one, and I know sometimes he looks unmotivated, but I genuinely think that Brian Mbeumo could be a decent option for United on that right-hand side. I think that goal-scoring right winger plays well with a target man type player in Ivan Toney. Could get more out of course, Rasmus Højlund. I think Mbeumo could be an interesting shot, but you're probably looking 60-70 million to get him from a Premier League club, and that's why we got to be shopping elsewhere, in my opinion. Got to get that done pretty quickly as well. But look, we're definitely looking at some interesting players. Another one we want to talk about is Johan Bakayoko. Don't know what that is there. Got a hair in my tooth. Sorry there. Yeah, but Bakayoko, I think, is from PSV. Really an interesting player, really good in that right wing, scoring a lot of goals in that PSV team. Obviously, Dutch signing is going to come up with connotations again, but I think that's genuinely a really good player we could be looking at. Niraj said, is it possible to sign Tobito in January? I think that's the interesting call. I think that is a really interesting one because Nice look like they might be competing for the French league this year. They might be the challengers PSG. They are, of course, ahead in the league at the minute, unbeaten so far this season. So definitely a team on the up, doing really good stuff on the pitch, really good manager, really good football. Do we get their star centre-back out of them at this point in the season? I don't know. That's definitely a question we need to be asking. I guess it's one we're just going to have to find out. Does Ratcliffe want United to succeed at all costs, even above the likes of his own club in Nice? That's a question there we're going to have to be asking, but we will be bringing centre-backs in. Niraj says, hopefully Sancho goes to Saudi so we can cash in some money. I would absolutely agree, man. Hopefully Sancho, hopefully Casemiro, probably Rafael Varane could all go, and that's going to bring some money in, free up those wage bills, get the big earners out and help us really reset that structure, and I think that's going to make us able to spend a lot more money in future in areas we need to. I don't want to see this club going sell to buy. I don't want to see us saying, oh, we could sign this player, but first of all, we have to hope that somebody comes in and pays £40 million for Scott McTominay, or someone has to come in and pay £50 million for Harry Maguire. That's not what we want to be doing. We want to just have the money there that we can go, we can bring in who we need, and that's what we got to be doing. Jack Attack, good to see you, man. Don't think much people understand. Ratcliffe coming in and changing the structure will be different and easier for him because Man United itself has a much bigger pull than the other clubs he has. Absolutely, man. I would agree with that, of course. Big T wants to see Ollie Watkins. Ratcliffe only needs 69% to run the show. He does not need shares in the stock market. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. It's about those initial shares, and I'm praying, I am hoping beyond all else that he has got a plan, a long-term plan, and a long-term plan in writing, an agreement to take full ownership of this club eventually. Look, so long as he gets over 50%, he's basically calling the shots. The more he has, the more control he will have eventually, and I think it's going to be happening fairly soon as well. Let me see, what have we got? Was that who? Sorry, didn't pay attention. Might have missed that one. I'm not too sure. Let's see. Scott is saying Sancho wants Juventus, so he keeps the same wages. He know he won't get that elsewhere. So a loan move is bad for United. They will probably, though, knowing us. Story of our life. Yeah, I think a loan move probably is most realistic. Hopefully, there's some kind of buy option or an obligation, because I do think that the guys calling the shots will look at the situation that has unfolded, and I think they'll want to move him on as well. Even if he's fell out with Erik Ten Hag, is there any guarantee he's going to turn up and play for another manager? I'm not too sure. I want to get talking about another player, and this is a player who is very, very exciting, and that is Andre from Fluminense. So United and Tottenham have joined Liverpool and Arsenal in the race to sign Fluminense midfielder Andre, who will be able to move in January. The Fluminense are willing to accept an offer around 30 million euros. United's potential move is reliant upon the future sale of Casemiro, who has been linked with a 2024 move to Saudi Arabia. United have drawn up a list of possible replacements, and Andre is high up on that list. For anyone who hasn't seen him, a really good player, plays quite deep, gets on the ball, really good passing range, hard-working player. Maybe not the best in terms of his overall defensive work. I wouldn't put him as the number 6. I would like to see someone alongside him, but if you put him in that kind of Christian Eriksen role, definitely a very, very good player to be had there as well. Niraj says Juve have offered 70-30 for Sancho. It's not acceptable. No, that I don't think that's going to be acceptable either, and neither should it be. If they want him, they can pay the full loan, and hopefully they'll have some sort of an agreement to buy the guy at the end of it as well. I think that's going to be the best way we deal with this situation with Jadon Sancho. I think, yeah, look, it's unfortunate how it's worked out. I like the player. I think he's a good player with a lot of potential, certainly when we bought him, but I just can't see us ever really getting it out of him. I just can't see it really happening at this club at the minute. And yeah, things are going to change, but will another brand new regime looking to come in, make big changes, will they look at the past and say, let's give Sancho another go, or will they just want to cash their chips, so to speak, on that deal as well. Big ups on 24 likes as well, guys. Much appreciated. If you guys can drop some more likes as well, would be really, really appreciated. And if you guys are new as well, please consider hitting that sub button. Hopefully going to try to get up to 3k by the end of the year, although it's looking a little bit unlikely as well, as things stand. But we can hope. We can hope and dream, of course. Let me have another check as well, just for some of the other stuff coming in. Alex Crook saying United considering cashing in on Casemiro. Can't say I'm too surprised about that. I really can't. Obviously, player on a lot of wages. Still a good player. I do think that he's probably not suited to the system at the minute, and that's making him look worse than what perhaps he actually is. But I could see him going to Saudi Arabia. I could see him taking that big move, getting those big wages, and I think that might be what he does next year. Niraj, what is my view on Ten Hag? Is he not able to manage big name players? I think it's interesting. I do think it's an interesting one with Erik Ten Hag and these big name players. What I will say is this, and I will definitely come back to this point in future videos and episodes. When we look at Ten Hag's management of big players, it definitely stands out. We're looking at, of course, Ronaldo was gone. We're looking at De Gea was gone. Casemiro likely to go. Varane likely to go. Does this come down to Ten Hag's inability to manage them? I'm not too sure. I don't know if it's down to that. Do I think that there would be a willingness in United to say, do you know what, if we can move these players on, if we can get those wages off the books and bring some younger players in, that's probably better for us long term. I would think we probably would look at that. I would agree with that there one as well. Do I think he's purposely trying to alienate them? I'm not too sure. I think some of it's interesting. I think the Varane one is really different to Casemiro, Ronaldo, De Gea. Look, Ronaldo went because of the interview. Ronaldo went because he didn't want to be at the club anymore. That was obvious. David De Gea was let go because he wasn't fancied by the management. That's understandable, I guess. Casemiro looks like he might go. It looks like there's issues with his fitness, with his declining ability to perform his role on the pitch, because we're seeing it not only for United, but we're seeing it for Brazil as well. So he could be one that looks to leave. I think Varane's a different one, because we're talking tactical reasons. I think this is coming down mostly to Ten Hag's obsession. Now, we get this a lot with Dutch managers. They like to have balance. They're very strict in some areas, and something that Ten Hag is really, really, really strict on is he wants a right-footed centre-back, he wants a left-footed right-footed centre-back and a left-footed centre-back. Last year when Varane was playing every week and Lisandro Martinez got injured, we played Luke Shaw there instead of putting Maguire there. He had been there for a long time. Now we're putting Johnny Evans in there instead. So I think that's an interesting one. I think that's coming down to genuine his tactical belief. Do I think it's the right call? Probably not. I think Maguire left centre-back and putting Varane right centre-back isn't any worse. It's probably better than playing Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, in my opinion. But it kind of is going to be what it's going to be, I guess, in some aspects as well. Let's see. Niraj says, yeah, because it's only came to my mind, Ronaldo, Casemiro, Varane. Yeah, look, I think those are not long-term players. Regardless of how we look at it. Jasper said Casemiro missing Fred's legs on the pitch. I would agree with that as well. I think some of Casemiro's best runs last year came with Fred beside him as well. I think Fred did a lot of work and definitely helped out a lot. And now that we are kind of trying to play further up the pitch with two attacking midfielders, and then Casemiro behind them, I think that's where we're coming in to some issues. Chris H is saying even if Varane was in favour, he still misses 25% of games through injury. He does. That is unfortunate. I still think he's a top defender. I think even the stats will back that up. And I know not everybody is all about the stats, but stats-wise, I think the eye test, he definitely is still one of our best defenders for sure. But I think the injuries are coming down to a boiling point. I don't know if we can rely on him in the long term. So if we do move him on, I would understand the call, but I think we need a hell of a player to replace him, hopefully. Niraj says last year Varane Martinez saved us because both of them we got Champions League qualification. Yes, that partnership was very good last year, and I think Varane managed to stay fit for a lot of last year, which definitely helped us out. I don't think he's quite had the same resilience this year to the injuries, but he's not the only one. I think that's interesting, and from what we can see, it does look like we're overtraining these players to a certain extent. So a lot of people out there saying, Joe, when we get back, we get Varane back, we get Martinez back. Maybe we'll be playing better football, but we could get to that point and find Højlund's out, Rashford's out, Casemiro's out, Eriksen's out, and all of a sudden we're missing other players on the pitch. So I think we got to be managing ourselves a little bit better. I don't think we're quite getting that at the minute with Ten Hag, and I think it's something he needs to have a look at. I think it was interesting because I've seen interviews from the Man City players midweek when they play 3 matches a week, which is almost every week of the season. They do very, very light training in terms of the running work. A lot of it's all tactical, it's shape-based, it's stuff that's not going to cause additional injuries. And I think we've got to be ready for that one. Big T says, Cooperman, who just bought 1 million, is a head fund guy, and we could see investment in the stadium from him, perhaps. It's all about increasing the value of the club for people like that. I think Cooperman's an interesting one. I think he's about 1 million shares at around 18 million pounds. Yeah, look, that's more money than I will ever have in my life, but ultimately it's only like 1.5%, 1.8% of the club in total, so it's not going to be a big alteration. I think what he's looking to do is he's either going to sell very quickly once the INEOS deal gets announced and the share value jumps, or he's going to hold on to it for a longer period of time and hope that Ratcliffe runs the club well and that makes it more valuable in the future as well. So I don't think he's too interested in football or anything. I think he's looking at the bottom line, looking for those profits, looking for those gains. I think that's what he's after. Let me see. Chatsport would have kept Fred. Big T says we miss Fred. Niraj says we bring in Arsenal's medical team, if I'm correct. Yet we're still facing lots of injury issues. Yes, that is a concern. I think it's coming down to overtraining as well, because I think players look burnt out. I think that's something that has been the case all season long. We look tired constantly, and we would think maybe after an international break we might look a little bit fresher, a little bit better, because our players aren't playing a lot of minutes on these internationals either. Rashford, always a bench option for England. Casemiro maybe not playing a lot for Brazil. A lot of injuries as well. Not too many will actually be going on international breaks. So you would imagine that could nearly be 2 weeks off for some of these players. And Big T says if the hedge fund offers finance for the rebuild, he'll make a lot more money. He will as well. That is true. It just all depends really what he's planning on doing. Obviously, he's buying the New York Stock Exchange shares, which do not come with any voting rights, and I think that's going to be an interesting one if any real influence comes there. Who gets that 18 million pounds worth? Does that go to Avram and Joel Glazer buying a new yacht? Does that go into the Ratcliffe spending fund? Does that go to the club? What happens with that? Where does that money go? That has to be something that we're looking at. And I would hopefully like to think that Ratcliffe's going to be buying up some more shares as well. I think he will. I think he's going to use these shares that he will buy on the public exchange to raise money, and that's going to be a way of investment that will get some more money to spend in the windows, on the stadium redevelopments, all that good stuff that we want to see happen. Hopefully that's going to come pretty soon as well. Chatsport said Glazers hold all the cards. Niraj says we need to back up at all positions. Yeah, I think squad depth's a big one. Glazers do hold a lot of cards, but increasingly I think Ratcliffe's going to get more and more and more power, more influence over the team, more influence over the club, and I think long term we're going to be a lot better off for it as well. Okay guys, with that in mind, I'm going to drop off here, so if you guys haven't already, make sure you're liking and hitting that sub button if you haven't already, and I will be back on tomorrow as well, same time tomorrow, 7 p.m. UK time. So guys, have a good Tuesday night, have a good Wednesday as well, and I'll catch everyone tomorrow.